wave scene in Vancouver. One of the bands that hung out at the club was a young bunch of guys who had only played one gig. The name was Images in Vogue, and I ended up managing them and taking them to reasonable success.
Yes, reasonable success.
Yes. Well, we never became millionaires out of it, but it sure was exciting. And that was in fact, I would say that was a golden period, because that was the first time for me, you know, to be seriously involved in the business, talking to producers and labels, and all of it really just on pure enthusiasm and naivety. I always say, you know, if naivety is a great thing for you, because if you knew how high the mountain was, you'd never climb it.
Right.
And trying to make a living and get #1 records in the music industry, that's the equivalent of Everest.
Well, and for you to just come in pirate radio and be bit by the bug, you had a passion for something in it, and it was probably relatively new even in technology.
Yeah, well, first of all, the technical side of it. Secondly, the fact that here was a culture for the very first time in pirate radio, broadcasting to young people 24 hours a day. That had never, ever happened before. We take it for granted right now, this internet radio station, Much Music, MTV, that you can get your fix of pop culture anytime you want on demand. In 1964, that was not so. So suddenly it to come along and to influence me, and it wasn't just the music, it was the lifestyle. We're talking about youth culture coming alive in the early part of the 60s. All of that just fascinated me, and it profoundly changed my life. And I didn't know it at the time. I was just a reasonably intelligent kid that had a penchant for getting into trouble.
But you just happened to be in the center of the world of
yes.
pop culture,
yes,
of music and of...
and again, that was not by design. I grew up in southwest London, Richmond, Twickenham area, which actually was the home base for people like the Rolling Stones and the Who, and my older brothers. And really it's my older brothers that ended up influencing more than anybody, because I was stealing their records from their collection. Sorry guys. But it was that period, and my parents, who were very open to my older brothers, you know, would allow them to invite their friends over, and so we would have, you know, nice little record parties in the back garden, and each of the boys had their own record player, so in each of the bedrooms that you could step into a soul room and a pop room and all kinds of stuff, and it was just colouring my life. I was absorbing it all.
And hooray for Big Brothers.
Hooray for Big Brothers, yeah. I often say that some of the reasons that people have done so well in the industry is because their big brothers have great record collections.
Hey, I was there too. That's how I get into Led Zeppelin at
there you go.
You know, probably 10. You actually are well known, maybe not well known by your name, but you're very well known for the one child acting. Well, actually there are two, but there's one that you're really famous for, and that is playing all of the children in the Village of the Damned.
All of the baby children.
All of the baby children,
yes. You know, well, here's another great example, not by design. This is going to go down on my tombstone, that Kim was the original Village of the Damned child. 3 of them, as it turns out.
One of them even a girl.
One of them even a girl. I was in drag before Boy George. My parents had got me involved in acting when I was very, very young, 3, 4, 5 years of age, and I did commercials and did a couple of small movies. And then, as it turns out, I got a part in a movie. And of course, I don't know anything about this at 4 or 5 years of age. That movie was Village of the Damned, which became a pivotal sci-fi movie for a number of reasons. But the image of the young blonde-haired children whose eyes light up, first of all, in terms of a special effect, that was kind of a breakthrough in 1959, 1960. But that image became an archetype, and it has been borrowed and acted as a kind of shorthand for weird space cadet kids throughout pop culture history.
The embodiment of...
Exactly. David Bowie, for instance, released an album with those eyes lit up, and a reference to a damned child. Chucky, the doll, the horror
Child's Play character.
Well, apparently that Chucky doll is based on the characters in Village of the Damned. That character is me. They're talking about the Chucky doll being based on me. Obviously, it's just a character.
It just happens to look like you.
Yeah. So yeah, 2 boys and a girl, and it's not a speaking part, but it's very important because it's the first time that in the movie that the children's eyes light up, and I'm playing that child.
Yes, and it probably was made to be a B-roll movie in the 60s.
I don't know about that. Maybe not. I don't know. It was British, so it didn't have a big Hollywood budget, that's for sure. But it did have George Saunders in it, so you know, not an insignificant actor, not a B movie actor either.
Oh, okay.
So difficult to say how it was being marketed.
Right.
But certainly, in terms of sci-fi fanatics, that is a very special movie. And interestingly enough, in terms of science fiction as well, that the children, it's inferred that they come from outer space, but it's never made clear or apparent. And it could be that the children are actually coming from within rather than from without, which is
Right.
kind of fascinating right now.
Yes.
About, you know, inner space rather than outer space. And I love that aspect.
Yes, and the conspiracy theory concept that we are all aliens, that we've actually been transplanted, and we're being controlled by aliens, and that's from within.
From within,
That's,
exactly.
That's the idea today.
And you know, that's amazing. It comes from the book The Midwich Cuckoos.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
The
The movie Village of the Damned is based on Midwich Cuckoos. And interestingly enough,
was that not made into a movie as well?
No, that's the one. Midwich Cuckoos became Village of the Damned.
Oh, okay.
But what's interesting, it took me years to figure out, well, why was it called the Midwich Cuckoos? And the cuckoo lays his or her egg in another bird's nest.
Oh,
And then it made
that's
sense.
interesting.
So the
So
seed of the child by the aliens was laid in the nest of human beings, and then the human mother nurtures the child, which is me.
That's right. And you were probably completely unaware of
I was 4.
Right. So you're just out there playing, pretending.
Yeah.
And you also did a Quaker Oats commercial.
I was when I was 5. I was signed to an exclusive contract. Gotta say that, an exclusive contract for 5 years.
Fine.
Isn't that amazing? Anyway, I was under a year contract with Quaker Oats Food, and I was their property, and I exclusively appeared in a multitude. I don't know how many. Maybe 15, 20 commercials for Quaker Oats.
How do you feel about Quaker Oats today?
I love my porridge. It's healthy for you. Keeps that cholesterol down, boys and girls. Eat your porridge.
Boys and girls, that's right. Yeah, you 4 or 5-year-olds are worrying about cholesterol buildup.
Why, you can be a boy or girl at the kind of 55, 60 years of age, you've got to get that mental attitude,
Right.
which is what I'm on these days, by the way. It's not how old you are, but how old you feel.
Oh, very, very much so.
Yeah.